session on Google Summer of Code. We have 4 distinguished speakers who hope to give you some insight into GSoC. Google Summer of Code is an international competition which awards stipends to university students above the age of 18 for completing a free and open source software coding project over the summer. Basically, all you have to do is apply for the challenge, code with a mentor organization, and submit your work. Now I invite the president of the Mozilla Club, Brian Fernando, to welcome everyone to the session. Brian?
As the president of the Mozilla Club of IIT, I would like to welcome you all to today's session, which are planning to do as an awareness session about GSoC. Today we have 4 great people who achieved very well in GSoC. So we warmly welcome you, sir, and Ms. Isuri too. And also on behalf of my team, I would like to welcome you all, the participants. And I think you will get the maximum from this meeting. So hope you guys will enjoy the session. So that's all of my part. Hiromi, it's over to you.
Thank you, Brian. A small announcement to all the attendees. A Padlet will be opened up for your questions and the link is shared in the chat. Post all your questions there and the speakers will reply to them in the chat. Our first speaker, Mr. Thiloshon Nagarajah. Thiloshon is an engineer at WSO2 and has participated in Google Summer of Code in 2 consecutive years, both based in the biodiversity research domain. I now invite him to share a bit on his project and how to find a mentor organization for Google Summer of Code. Over to you, Thiloshon.
Thank you, Hiromi. I'm guessing you guys can hear me well. If not, just send me a message. So I have a presentation, so I'll just start with that. Can you guys see my slide?
Yeah, we can see.
All right, cool. So my session would be a 20-minute session, which is about finding an organization that suits you. So this is an older session as well. I'm doing the same this time. So you have 2 days. So why me? Because I'm a GSoC student as well. I work for the R project for statistical computing. In simple terms, you would have heard about the R language. So my GSoC organization was R language. After finishing GSoC for 2 years, I also mentored for them last couple of years and probably this year as well. So I kind of know GSoC in both student perspective and mentor perspective. So that would be beneficial for you guys. Also, I took part in Google Coding, which is like a high school version back in my school days. So coming to the question, how do you find an organization that suits you? First of all, we have to clarify about the ecosystem of GSoC. I'm sure some of you might not know what GSoC is or how it works. So like you might be confused, why is it called Google? Are they giving us projects? Will it be a platform for you to get a job at Google? There could be like several doubts as such. So this slide clarifies certain things. First of all, Google is just an organizer of the program. So Google really wants to help open source community grow. So they are doing this as a not-profit program just to help all the other open source organizations around the world. So that means Google doesn't have any projects from Google to work. What they do is they ask open source organizations to join their program, which is the GSoC, and then the organizations which joins will open up a bunch of projects for students to work on. So that is how this Google Summer of Code program works. So what are these mentoring organizations? Some of the mentoring organizations are like Apache, Django, Eclipse, Fedora, even Mozilla, LibreOffice, PHP, MyAdmin, Python, Linux, VideoLAN. So you might have come across some organizations in your life, probably Mozilla. So these are the organizations that join GSoC and open up projects for students to work on. And the students will have to accept a project from these organizations and work. So Google doesn't have anything to do with the projects that are opened up. So where does Google come in? So first of all, students have to communicate with Google only on 3 different phases, which is registration. First, you have to register with Google. And then when they are evaluating, when you are being evaluated by mentors, at that phase, Google comes in. And then finally, to give away all the prizes or the stipends, you have to communicate with Google. Those are the 3 phases where you will communicate with Google. Every other communication other than these 3, you have to do with the organizations. And more specifically, there will be mentors in these organizations and you have to communicate with them. So anything to do with the projects or the organizations, everything will be handled by the organization and the mentors in their organization. And also mentors are only bound to the particular organization. They can't help across different organizations unless in certain circumstances. So that is how the entire Google and open source ecosystem work in GSoC. I have this kind of like an infographic that shows the entire pathway to GSoC. I will give the link of this for you guys to look. I won't go through this now because it will take some more time. This is for you to just understand how the entire process works. Okay, so now that we have understood what GSoC is, so what's the big deal about this? Why is it so sought after, or why is it so hard to get into GSoC? First of all, you have to realize that there are so many organizations that are being listed as part of GSoC program. Last year, it was 199 different organizations. And each organization can put up as much projects as they want. So some organizations have around like 50 projects. Some have as little as 3-4 projects. So you have 199 organizations and much more projects to choose from. With all those projects come a lot of complexities. And these complexities can be a bit overwhelming for students to kind of navigate through the program, at least in the initial phase of selecting an organization. Just to prove the point, we have some numbers. As you can see, this is a number of the organizations that have been enrolled in GSoC program over the years. So as you can see, initial phase, it was less than 50, but like last couple of years, it has come up to 200. So like what you can see is like over the time, Google is trying to add more organizations into the program as to give more opportunity to more students. So like each year, you will have a really good chance of getting into GSoC because there will be a lot of new organizations and you can shine in whichever organization you choose to. So it's not like limited to particular set of students. There are a lot of projects because of number of organizations that are being improved. So like I said, there are so many organizations which can be a bit overwhelming, but also the good news is there are so many organizations which have a lot of projects for you all to choose from. With students of any capability or any background knowledge will be able to have a GSoC project of their own. So yeah, over the years, Google increases the number of organizations, also the number of students. So how do you navigate through this problem and how do you find the best organization that fits you? First of all, you have to be smart, but how exactly? The major way to tackle this problem is to filter out the organizations. Even though there are 199 organizations, you don't have to go around looking every and each of these organizations. What you can do is more smartly, you can filter out the organizations that fits your expectations or your expertise. If you are not someone who's interested in data science or database or like operating systems, then you don't have to look at the organizations that have these projects. You can straightly go to one of the things that you might like, maybe graphics, audio, video, or maybe like programming languages and tools, or maybe science and medicine related. So first of all, you have to just filter out the organizations which fits your portfolio of expectations, and then try to shortlist certain number of organizations from this particular list. So that is the first way how you have to navigate. Second way is there are more filters in GSoC, which more narrows down into the technical subjects, like is it machine learning, is it education related, is it graphics related, is it security related, is it web development related. So once again, after you narrow it down from the bigger category, you can still narrow down based on these things. If you're not someone who's familiar with cloud and big data technologies, then you might have to skip those organizations and more focus on web development organizations if that is your niche. So these kind of filtering techniques will help you navigate through all these organizations and find out certain ones that will be more fit for you. And once again, we have another third level of filtering, which is based on the languages. This could be really helpful for you guys. If you are someone who doesn't know Android or Linux or C++, then you can just directly skip these organizations and choose the ones that you know. All these organizations would list their programming requirements. So Python, JavaScript, whatever is your thing, you can choose. By choosing these categories, you can bring down the organization count from 199 to all the way down to probably 20 or 30. And you can spend 2-3 months on figuring out which organization you want to select. So that is the first technique to figure out which organization that could fit you. Also, we have another thing called the most successful organizations. These organizations have the highest number of projects each year. For example, FOSS Asia has around 51, our language has 33, likewise. So though it's not strictly evidence-based, still you can think that most organizations that have a lot of students will try to take in more students each year. So you will have more chance of targeting these organizations than very limited organizations that are targeting very limited type of students. So this diagram could also be useful for you. And this is another interesting thing. Even though GSoC is highly competitive and a lot of students take part each year, there are organizations where not even a single student managed to get in. It could be because of this very problem, the overwhelming number of organizations. But if you look really close, if you have applied to any of these 6 organizations, it would have been easier for you to get in because there are no competition whatsoever. If you are the only one, then they will take you. So the key point is to not miss any organization, filter out and look through every single organization to figure out which one is your fit. So just to summarize, most organizations in the last few years had projects in web, machine learning, education, and graphics and security related domains. So if you are someone who's targeting next year GSoC or even this year and trying to prepare for it, then sharpening your skill in these domains would help you get a good project. And also Python, JavaScript, C++, Java, and C are some of the most used languages. So being expertise in these languages would increase your chances of getting an organization selected. And then, like I said, there are a few organizations that weren't didn't have any successful projects. And this is because students miss out a lot of things as part of the program. If you are really focused and if you skim through the entire project website, then you will be able to find out certain organizations that will easily take you in. And another major thing is there are around 271 different languages or frameworks or tools or technologies that were listed by the organization. What that means is, no matter what your expertise is, no matter what your background is, you'll still be able to find an organization which has projects matching your skill set. So it's all matter of skimming through these websites and trying to find out that one particular project. So how do you select the organization in a more concrete manner? What is the workflow that you have to follow? First of all, there are no concrete answers. It depends on people, depends on All right, I think I got muted. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, can hear. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. So there is no concrete answer. What we can do is we can give the common techniques that have proved over the time to be working in most of the organizations. And we can tell you about the objectives Google have for this program. Based on all this, it's up to you to improvise your own formula as to how to select the organization that fits you. So we'll give some pointers. First of all, way ahead of the program, you have to decide on the language that you're seeking for. Like, what is the best language that you know? Is that the language? Is the organization that you want to work on has to be in this language? It can be Java, Python, whatever it is. And then you have to figure out what is the organization that you want to go. How do you understand the organization that you want to choose? It makes sense to really get a 100% understanding of the organization before selecting that for your GSoC project. What you have to understand about these organizations are, first, their working mechanism. How is their structured? How is their organization structured? How is their reporting management structured? How are they building community? Are they using different social medias? Are they using any developer-friendly systems like Slack? And you have to enroll in that, and you have to kind of observe how things are done in the organization for a bit of time in order to understand. And you have to understand the working domain. Organizations can come from different domains. My organization was from biodiversity domain, which has nothing to do with my bachelor's, which is on software engineering. But still, I had to understand the domain in order to write a proper proposal. So you have to understand the domain that the organization is coming from. You have to understand how work is divided among them. How do you take up an offer? How do you take up a work? Do you volunteer, or do you wait for them to give you? How is that working? What are the tools they are using? Are they using any common tools that you don't know, but it will make sense for you to learn in that 1-2 months? Or are they using any in-house tools that they have exposed and you have to learn those on time? And what are the frameworks or technologies that they are building their softwares with? And finally, how do they manage code? Are they using any public repositories, or do they have any private repositories? How do they do that? So the more knowledge you have about an organization, the better proposal you can make. So make use of like 1 or 2 months after the organizations are announced to understand organizations and how their culture overall is. And that will help you put a lot into the proposal that will convince them that you are the best fit. Also, you have to keep in mind that it's all about your profile. So you have to properly communicate with these people. They won't be next to you, sitting next to you. It's all virtually done. So the better communication you have, you can still win over more talented students, because people normally want better communicators than doers. So you have to communicate well. You have to take care of all the proper mannerisms and stuff. And you have to build a portfolio. You have to build demos, you have to build sample pet projects, so for them to convince that you already know the things that they are working on. If it's Python, you have to do some pet projects and like build a GitHub profile likewise. And also you have to be very patient. Most of the people, they try to find organization really fast, and after spending 2-3 days, they get really overwhelmed and they just don't want to take part. They will convince themselves the next year they will be more prepared, but the truth is they won't be prepared. You have to skim through the project several times in order to understand what the project is about and how it fits you. So I'll talk a little bit about my story, which can be boring, but you can take certain insights from my story as well. First of all, I want to do a project in R language. R language is not a language that I'm really familiar with, but I want to make use of GSoC in order to learn the language even better. So I wanted GSoC to be a learning platform for me, a way to learn. So our language, which I was starting to learn, was my priority in GSoC. And then what is the best place to learn a language? The organization that creates the language itself. So I wanted to work with our organization. Also, my interests were in big data and machine learning or data science related stuff. So I wanted to make use of GSoC to learn these things. If I couldn't find any of these, then I was fine with any Java projects and I don't care about what organization it is. So that was the expectation I had initially, and that is what I worked for. And then what I did was I had this kind of like self-reference list. So what I do is I go around, look at the websites, I choose an organization, I collect data, and I kind of like create a Word doc with all the information that I have about the organization. I kind of like managed to have a lot of things, and I also added like personal notes, whether the project is interesting, or whether the proposal making seems easy, whether it has more bugs to fix, or whether it's like a complete feature to develop. So I had this self-reference list, which helped me a lot. So I would encourage you guys to have something like this too. Also, it makes sense to like, don't apply to so many organizations. Apply to one major organization and have another organization as a backup. My story is this Beacon project is one of the organizations that was there in my time. And what they had was a documentation task. So what you have to do is they will give you a Word document. You have to go through that, and you have to video record or screencast what you are doing, and then create a video and give them that. That's the entire project. You don't have to code anything. You don't have to do anything technical. All you have to do is just follow the documentation, video it, and then give it as a documentation. So this was a very easy task. So I kept this as a backup project in case my first project didn't get selected. I wanted to do this at least. So I even sent them an email, and then I got back saying that my background looks very convincing and they would like me to apply. So this is very easy project which any of you could do. But at the end, I didn't end up doing this project or even submitting a proposal, because my primary proposal took a lot of time to make. So it was really hard to submit for another organization. But if you guys are into that sort of thing, you can have a backup project as well. So the moral of the story is there are like so many projects that are being overlooked. A lot of them are even very easy. And these projects can easily bring you like $1,500, which is close to 3 lakhs now. So it's about your persistence, about your determination to find a good project. And if you stay there, and you'll be able to find. And finally, before wrapping up, I have a small slide on how the GSoC is changed. From 2021, we have different format of the program. So all this time we had 12 weeks of programming or coding period, but hereafter it will be 10 weeks. So they have cut down the total duration. Also, all this time they had 350 hours of project, like 30 hours a week. So it's like a full-time project, but they have cut down into half. Hereafter the projects will be like very easy or smaller projects, as to make it easier for the mentors and students to manage in this summer coding period. Because the projects have become smaller, they have also reduced the stipend. All this time it was 3,000. When I was doing it was even 2,400, but then they added 600 more. But hereafter it will be $1,500 because of half of the workload that you have to do. Also, all this time there were 3 evaluations, but hereafter it will be only 2 evaluations. And finally, all this time, only the university students who have proper accreditation could do GSoC, but now they have changed it to anyone who has completed their post-secondary education. So this time it will be like more students and a lot of projects, and it's a different format. It could be exciting. We'll have to wait and see. So there are like more tips and stories. If you follow this blog, there's an article that have written about how to prepare well for GSoC. You can even read that. And if you have any doubts, you can just mail me whenever you want. I think I took a little bit more time. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, wrapping up with that. Over to you, Hirani.
Thank you, Thiloshon, for that very interesting topic. And I would like to kindly remind all the attendees that they can post all their questions in the Padlet, and The speakers will answer them in the chat, in the Zoom chat. So moving on to our next speaker, Ms. Isuri Anuradha. Isuri is a research assistant at the University of Colombo School of Computing and a Master of Philosophy candidate at the University of Colombo School of Computing and a graduate research assistant at the Language Technology and Research Technology at UCSC. She participated in GSoC in 2018, where she presented her project WSO2 Identity Server User Store using web services to get claims. I invite Isuri to give us some pointers on how to write a convincing proposal. Over to you, Isuri.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, of course. So I will share my slides deck with you. Can you able to see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so hello to everyone. Having a good understanding about the Google Sum of Code and how the pathway should make in order to get a Google Sum of Code participant. Now you have a broad understanding. So there's another point that you have to pay much more attention when you are applying for GSoC. That's how to write a convincing proposal. So myself, I'm Isuri Anuradha and I'm a MPhil candidate at the UCSC, and I was a GSoC participant in 2018 under the FOSS organization, which is based on Greece, Athens, and my project is a little bit going with the WSO2 identity server. So this will be the things that we are going to discuss within next few minutes. So this proposal why this proposal is important actually. In GSoC, as in earlier discussion, you get to know that there are a lot of organizations where there are a lot of projects they will be announced, and there will be a lot of students from the global, and many students can participate this kind of GSoC competition. And also there can be multiple proposals for a single project. So having keep that in mind, we have to pay much more attention when we are developing our proposal, because proposal is the place where intermediate document or intermediate textual representation between you and the mentor of the organization. So let's dig in how you make a proposal and how you're going to present this. So initially in organization, they will announce the main topic that you need to work on, and based on that you can add a title, and then after all you can make some introduction to yourself, like who are you and what qualifications you have and what are the things that you have, that means skill set and the technological background, and how much you are familiar with this open source community and the culture, or things about your background knowledge can be include in your first page and 1.5 page. So when it comes to proposal, it's normally after we choosing a solution, after we choosing a problem, then you have to build a solution for that problem. In that case, proposing a solution to particular problem is an important thing. So you can summarize what kind of solution that you are going to propose in a short abstract, like 300 words or something like that. Then after all, you can add that as an initial insight to your proposal, and then after all you can dig much more into the problem, because in some cases in organization perspective they are just giving us a primary problem where they are facing or they like to solve from us. So sometimes in the main problem there can be other sub problems which can include. So you have to grab all of these problems and then include one by one in this problem description, sometimes a chapter or like page or something. You need to convince the mentors that you have identified the problem and you have the solution with you. So when considering this proposal, there should be the how we address the proposed solution takes the mandatory or the key element throughout your proposal, because when you are suggesting your solution, that should be understood by the mentors in the organization, and that should be unique from the other people who are applying to the particular problem or particular organization, that particular project. So keep that in mind. You have to arrange the proposal in your way, in your unique way. So as a suggestion we can give, you can add a rich picture, because when it comes with the human beings, graphical representation are much more powerful than the textual representation. So you can add a rich picture, some high level architecture diagram in your proposal, and you can explain your solution by referencing your image or the high level architecture diagram you have included in your proposal. This kind of points will make you unique from others proposals and those stuff. And next after all, implementation plan. So implementation plan is just like, now you have selected the problem, and now you have the solution with you. Then after all, you are going to divide it into phases. Divided into phases by things you can have. Okay, let's think like you are developing a system, and you have to design and develop your backend by backend. Then after all, database systems and the endpoints. Those things are special modules which are coming in overall big picture. So the implementation plan should consist each and every elements and properly planned way where you can present it to your mentor. And also, what are the proposed deliverables actually? Organization give us the problem that they are like to solve from us in a much more descriptive manner. So we have to frequently communicate with them with using these public communication channels like Slack or public emailing groups. And then after that, understanding about the question really well, after having a solution with you guys, then you can propose the deliverables, or what actually the company or the organization expects from us, or what kind of solutions that you need to give that organization. Those things should be highlighted when you are proposing solution, like those things, like how these solutions will be beneficial or benefit to the organization perspective. These things should be included when you are writing a proposal. So another thing that you have to attach with your proposal is your timeline. So when I'm going through about this 2021 GSoC, that they have changed their timeline. Previously there were 12 weeks, this time it was reduced in 10 weeks, and when considering the working time also, due to COVID pandemic, they have reduced 350 hours into 175 hours. So when you're planning your timeline, you have to make it a proper way, how you going to your task and how you're going to divide your task with the time duration, because this time the evaluations also, there are only be 2, in previously there were 3. So keeping that in mind, you have to include your timeline in your proposal too. Just what I prefer is include this timeline in a tabular manner, because tabular manner is an easy way to get your idea or how you are going to implement these things in a much more proper way, rather than writing in a paragraph or bullet formats. So another thing that you can include in your proposal is some kind of code portfolios, because as I mentioned earlier, this GSoC is has highly competitive nature, and there's a high chance that your proposal will be rejected. But if you have the background knowledge, if you have worked with the knowledge earlier within the previous couple of years, then add those things inside your proposal, because will be added plus points for your selections. And sometimes it's not about it don't want to be any community contributions or open source contribution. If you have something, then add it to your proposal, because this will be definitely beneficial for you, because code portfolios and other things will demonstrate to yourself why you are suitable for that project. It always implies on your proposal and how those people will look out to you, because there are thousands and students who are applying for a single project. So always try to be unique and get the thing out from yourself. So according to my perspective, what I see the proposal is as a bridge by the sense, one side there's a mentors and organization, and other side students like you guys. So in case if you build the bridge with low quality or with less equipments and those stuff, then you will be collapsed in the middle. So when you are writing proposal also, you have to add all the true informations, and the solution you propose can be achievable in a given period of time. Those things should be considered. And also small things are also going to be mattered in this kind of proposal due to this competitive environment. When writing also, you have to focus how you writing and how you going to arrange your proposal. Those stuff also matters when you are writing this kind of proposal. So as a suggestion from Google, they are giving, if you can communicate with this kind of organization and mentors as early as possible, this proposal can be drafted within 1 month. This is not an easy task. This cannot be done within 1 week or 3 days. This takes a lot of time, because you have to study the knowledge and you have to write the proposal on point. So in that case, if you have finished it earlier, you can submit your draft proposal to your particular mentor or supervisor and can get a feedback. So don't send 1 or 2 days before to your supervisor or mentor, just 1 week or 2 weeks before. Then they will get into your proposal, and sometimes they will reply you back, okay, you have this potential, and if you can add this these features to your problem. That's kind of suggestions or feedbacks can be get from them. So always try to add real and truthful information in your proposal. Otherwise you will be lost from this game. And this year what I saw is there's a less time duration for the proposal writing and stuff, because proposal submitting is opening from 29th of March, and you have to finally submit the proposal before 13th of April. It's before 11:30, not 12 in Indian Standard Time. So you guys have to prepare your proposal and submit before the deadline, because early submission is better than the rushing. So make use with the organizations, as in earlier discussion, get used to with those tricks which have in GSoC, and use those searching strategies to find the best project for you guys. Always choose a project which is good for yourself, by the sense of where you are suitable. If you want to learn new things, then GSoC will be a good platform, you guys. And also submit by having a good background, because if you have a background knowledge about that, then definitely you will be selected. You can sometimes, if you are much more familiar that, you can write a blog related to that things that you are going to do. Those things will be impress the mentors, and they will think, okay, this person is suitable for our project and we will select him. Those give the mentors or convince the mentors that you are the suitable person for this kind of project or proposal. So having that thing, my end on will be just work for GSoC. Actually, it's a good experience for you guys in an open source community, and achieve it, because undergraduates like you guys will definitely, there will be benefits when you going in international wide, and there will be a recognition. and so achieve the task and achieve it, don't lost in the middle, and then finally experience the nature, so get the reputation and everything after finishing this GSoC competition. So it's kind of great adventure for each and every us. So have that experience with you guys also. So if you want to know more information about what I have did in my GSoC 18, GSoC 2018, uh, there's a blog forum. If you want any other details, you can mail me anytime. So I will wind up the session from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Isuri, for those very helpful pointers. Next in line is Mr. Wigesinghe. Devon is a full-time software engineer at 99X. He has participated in GSoC intern in the years 2019 and 2020. In the 2021, he also took part as a mentor in Google Coding, which is a global contest focused on introducing pre-university students to open source development. The stage is yours to give our audience some tips on how to get practical with open source jargon. Devon?
Hi guys, can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just let me share my screen. Yes, okay. It's visible, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay, so guys, my name is Devon Wigesinghe, and I am a GSoC student at Scolab. So I took part in GSoC in 2019 and 2020 as well. So currently I am working as a full stack software engineer at 99X. So I think now you guys have definitely got a really good understanding on like how GSoC is structured and like how to properly approach writing a good proposal. So in my session, I will be getting a bit more practical and guiding you guys on how you can actually go ahead and contribute to an open source project. Yes. So these are actually the two projects which I personally contributed to in 2019 and 20. So if you guys are interested, you guys can go ahead to GitHub and check out these projects. So I actually don't have to tell you guys what GSoC is once again, but I really need to focus on this point, which is GSoC is something which brings students more into.
Devon,
Yes.
what I can see is the settings page. Can someone else also confirm if that is what we can see?
Yeah, setting screen is there.
Is that what you intend, Devon?
Oh no, I'm sharing my slides. Let me check. Yeah. Okay. How about now?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that, guys. I think I had shared the wrong screen. Yeah. So as I was saying, like I think Thiloshon and Isuri covered a lot about the base on how to get started. So I really would like to focus on this open source, the jargon open source, and how you can contribute to it, and what exactly this open source is. So you know, this Google Summer of Code is fully based on this open source concept. So what exactly is open source? So like when you consider open source, it's actually software which the source code is freely available and can be redistributed or modified. So that is what open source is. So to simplify this, I would say there are some softwares which you have to pay and get, and there are some softwares you can use for free without any license. So these softwares are open source software. So when it comes to a typical open source project, typically, so most of the time there is some kind of an organization or an individual behind this open source software. So that is one entity. And then the next entity is the community. So the community consists of students or other developers who contributes to a open source project. So as you can see, there can be various people, multiple people contributing to a single open source software. And the organization typically have people, mainly like mentors and supervisors, who will overlook this software and then manage it, and also they also make contributions as well. So these are some of these typical organizations which are available in GSoC. So this is taken from the list from 2020, and so these are some of them. So as Thiloshon mentioned, there are many organizations to choose from, and these are just a few examples which I picked out. So why is open source actually important? So this is something like open source is something which helps to develop a software really faster, because it will have added benefit from the community. So the software progression, the quality and the advancement of softwares become higher due to open source. That is because most of the time when you take large softwares, there is like million lines of code, and if for a single organization to develop this, there needs to be a lot of manpower. But when it comes to open source, it's distributing the workload among the community. So this is one major advantage of open source software. And this also minimizes the number of times the wheel needs to be reinvented. So by this, what I mean is like when it comes to open source, you get the source code, and if like for say I need to build something, I just need to look into what are the existing implementations and find if the code is available for what I'm trying to implement, and then I can reuse it and then modify it to suit my needs. So in this case, you don't reinvent the wheel, but you improve and enhance the existing softwares. So this one main thing when it comes to GSoC and open source is the open source culture. So you really need to know the open source culture when you are approaching Google Summer of Code. So these are some of the main points when regards to the culture related to open source. So openness means like when you are working on a project or discussing how a project works, it's always open, transparent communication, and like the things you do, the code you write, everything is open. So I will show you in a bit how these communications are happening, and how like open the communications are. So everything is very transparent. So that's one thing. And also knowledge sharing, that is also very important. You always try to help others, and others will help you in the community, open source community. And always I think it's really good you have this volunteerism mindset, because when it comes to open source, you know, even if you are contributing, just contributing, you don't get a direct benefit. But if you have this mindset, there will be a lot of indirect benefits, which I will go through next. And also remote communication. So mostly the communication will be done via channels like Gitter, Slack, or mail threads. So it is mostly remote, and community engagement should be really high. in this culture. So what is the open source contribution? So as I think Thiloshon has covered this as well. So when it comes to open source contribution, it can be various things. So these are a few examples. So it always doesn't have to be code. So as a beginner, even like if you are very new to coding, still you can approach Google Summer of Code. Because like there is things like updating documentation, designing UIs, logos, and there are various things. And so when it comes to coding level, there will be like fixing bugs and implementing new features, and or you can enhance existing features. So these are some of the contributions you can do to an open source project. So as I mentioned before, there is like benefits to contributing to open source. So in relation to GSoC, this is one of the most important steps to get selected for Google Summer of Code, because if you don't contribute and show your potential to the organization or the mentors, yeah, it's true that you can show this through the proposal, but it will be a really big benefit that you have already contributed to that project before you even submit the proposal. So that personally helped me a lot, because I actually contributed to the project which I took part did for GSoC. So then before even sending the proposal, I knew I had a communication going with the mentors, and so this is really important. So the other benefits would be, it is actually a great platform to show the world your abilities. So when it comes to securing a job, or in the future finding like a good place to work, it is really a great platform to show your coding skills to the world. And also it will really help you to improve your coding standards and code quality, because like there will be like when you contribute, it won't directly get accepted your code. There will be some kind of review process where you get feedback on your code and you can improve your code, and so on. And definitely you can learn new technologies, like Thiloshon mentioned, he learned R through the GSoC project. Likewise, there is so many things you can learn, and definitely you can build new connections and get involved with the global developer community. Yeah, so let's now take a look at how we can exactly contribute to an open source project. So I'm not going to go very in detail walkthrough, but I just show you what needs to be done. So first of all, I think we need to find a suitable project on GitHub, and we have to follow these steps. Yes, so I'll, without just reading this out, I'll show you guys how this is done. Yeah, I'm not sure how to. Yes, can you guys see the other browser window?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so when it comes to, yeah, so the first point, which is to find a suitable project to contribute to. So this is actually the organization which I contributed to, which is Schoolab, and you can see there is many projects under Schoolab. And so if, for example, if I feel like I am interested in this project, definitely you can read the description, and like you can do the setup and everything. And like if you are interested, the first thing you have to do is you have to click on this on the right, and you have to fork the repository onto your local, not local, your own profile. So once you, so I have already forked it. So once you have forked it, it will appear here. And so this will now be a project under your repository. your profile. So basically, once you have this profile set up, then next step would be to clone it. So for that, actually, you need to have Git installed. So this is the main source control tool which is used when it comes to source management and also open source. Like before we submit to GitHub, we need to have Git installed in our machine, so we can Git clone it. So is it possible to directly share the full screen instead of separate windows? Yeah, I'm not quite sure. You guys can't see my desktop, right?
No, we can see the JIT page.
Right.
You might have to start sharing again and share the entire screen.
Yeah, let me check. Yeah. Stop sharing. Yeah, it doesn't show me the option to share the full screen now. That's the issue. Share screen. Is it visible now?
No, it's not.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll just go through this. Yeah, so you can see the browser again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm unable to share the desktop. So basically, what you have to do is after you clone it, fork it to your profile, you need to get this URL, and then you have to clone it to your local machine. So after you clone it to your local machine, you can do the modifications required. So to know what actually needs to be done, you have to go here to the original repo, and then you have to look into the issues in GitHub. So you can see, guys, like, so this project has several issues which needs to be fixed. So for example, this if we take this issue, this like they have put a description of what needs to be fixed, and like what are the issues. So what you can do is you can refer these issues, and then you can fix these issues, and then you can commit your code into your forked repo. So you can, like, after you do the changes, you can commit it here, and then you can go to pull request, and you can create a new pull request. So when you create a new pull request, you have to create the pull request from your repo to the repo of the organization. So since I didn't change anything, the changes are not shown here. So unfortunately, I can't share my desktop, so I can't show you guys. So anyway, after this is, if there is a change, you can create a pull request, and then you can add the mentors or the organization leads as reviewers. So they will actually review your code, and if they accept it, then they will merge the code into the main project, or else you might have to do some changes and update the pull request. Okay. Yes. So yeah, so those are the basic steps when it comes to contributing to open source. Yeah, so that's about it, what I had to cover for today. So if you guys have any more questions or any queries related to how to get started and get contributing into open source, you can always reach me in my email, or you can reach me in LinkedIn. And also you can check out the projects, open source projects, if you visit my GitHub channel. Yeah, so thank you guys. Yeah, back to you, Hiruni.
Yeah, thank you, Devon, for those very insightful tips on open source. And finally, I would like to invite Mr. Supun Wanniarachchi. Supun is a senior software engineer at Cisco Labs, Sri Lanka. His experience ranges from participating in Google Code from 2017 to 2020, partaking in GSoC in the years 2016 and 17 as a student, and a mentor in the years 2018 and 19. The project he presented in 2017 revolved around Joomla, a free and open source content management system for publishing web content on websites. Under his mentorship in 2018, 2 students took on a project related to Jenkins, while the following year he mentored 2 more students on a project based on Apache Kafka with Kubernetes. I invite Supun to give us insight on the mentor's perspective of GSoC. The stage is yours, Supun.
Thanks, Sydney. Hello, share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, hope you guys have now a great idea about how GSoC works and the open source culture and how to submit the Google Summer of Code proposal. So in this talk, I would like to explain my idea about how GSoC important as about GSoC as a mentor perspective. So here is a little bit about myself. I'm Supun Wanniarachchi, senior software engineer at Cisco Labs, and I worked as a student in that 2016 in Moodle and 17 at Joomla, and mentoring students in Jenkins, and also mentoring Google Code. So why Google Summer of Code? I think you know the answer for this, but I'll quickly go through this, like how it's important as for you as an undergraduate. So the main thing is, as an undergraduate, the contribution and the learning path for your career. The open source culture is, it's like you could have a great opportunity to improve your knowledge, coding skills, and there are so many things, and communication skills with community, and there is a great opportunity for you. As a student in your undergraduate age, it's really important because in the industry, there are gaps between your undergraduate life and the industry. But if you could contribute to open source culture in Google Summer of Code, the gap may be a bit less, and you could easily perform well in industry. So in Google Summer of Code, the main advantage for you is learning part and contribution, and also they will pay for your code, they will pay for you as a student. Those are the important things. And global network, it's really important for you because these are the things you couldn't gain from anything anywhere else. The only way is to contribute. So these are the important things for you, and they will send you different goodies as well. So selecting an organization as a student perspective, I think you know the idea, but as a mentor, I would suggest you to basically select what you like, and if you can, it would be great if you could go more about researching your area. I mean, as Thiloshon mentioned, he researched more about R programming language, and he studied those stuff, and it's a great thing. And also, if you are linked with your technology stack, let's say you are backend developer, there are a lot of projects like Apache community. There are more than 100 projects, and there are so many organizations based on your interest and your stack. So as a mentor, I would suggest you to mainly try to find a project based on your technology stack plus your interest. And there are a few organizations there are good community channels in mailing list. In mostly Apache, they are only using mailing list plus IRC as a community media. So, but there are some organization, they might not have proper communication method. Their communication time is bit low, and their response time is bit low, and the community is not much actively working. So I suggest you to try to find organization which has a good active community and good community media. So that's from how you select your organization, and most of the stuff already discussed, and I just quickly go through this. So choosing a project as you like, that's the important thing. There are around 200 organizations, and each organization it has more than 10 plus projects. Some organizations like Apache has more than 100 projects, but you should uh, you should be able to find the sorry about this guy. Uh, you should be able to find what are the project you would like to take part. So what you want to you should find what you want to do and what you can do. That's the important thing, because you should know your weakness and strength, and based on that you should apply what are the project I would choose. So selecting project is most important thing, and don't limit yourself for exactly one project, because I know there are some opportunities like one student could apply for more than 2 or 3 projects, but some students only stick with one project, because the GSoC is not fixed in our country or like that. So it's a global competition. There are more than around 100,000 students are competing for this. So you don't need to stick with your project with only one. So my idea is, don't limit yourself with only one project, and try to apply more than one. So and try to communicate with more than one organization will be more plus point for you at some point. So suggestion from me is aim for 1 or 2 organizations, and try to send 2 or 3 draft proposals. I think Isuri from the second presentation explained how you could write a good proposal, and how to write a draft proposal. Those are really important, because back in 2017 when I'm applying for Joomla, I used to apply actually 2 projects. I basically apply up one of Apache project and Joomla project, because I know Joomla and Apache both are very competitive, and I can't take a risk. So what I did is apply for both organizations, and actively communicate with both, and finally I could have a chance to my proposal select for both organizations, one from Apache and Joomla, and then they will choose me finally for Joomla. From Google selected me to do the project in Joomla. So that's how it works. If you could limit yourself with one organization, the competition is very high. So in better ways, apply for five more than one organization, and send your proposal, at least 2 proposals. That's important, and the quality is the most important, because there are some students in most of in India. There are a few, and I saw that some proposals they just mention only like what they are planned, and what they are trying to do, and their technology stack. But this is not enough. As a student, you should mention your entire plan of this 12 weeks of period, and what you are trying to do, and trying to demonstrate. Because in GSoC, there are around, back in 2016-17, there are 3 demos. You should demonstrate your what you did in those 3 quarters, and there are final demo as a third one. So you should also mention what your plan for do in this 2 periods. So these are the important things you should add in your proposal. And please don't spam. Please don't send spam emails, or you don't need to send like asking unwanted question. Like if you could Google those kind of things, just Google it and try to find answer. If not, try to ask from the community. That's important thing. And you okay. You want to be a Google Summer of Code student. My first advice is start early, not tomorrow or later. Start it now. That's the important thing, because, as I mentioned, it's global uh, event, and you are just one participant. So you have to fight with other students for selective projects. So you should start early. And GSoC preparation as an undergrad. So what you can do is first just go to a GSoC guideline, student guideline. So as a student, there are a few things they have mentioned. You have to submit your identity, uh, maybe your university identity, or there are certain stuff they are asking. So you have to submit those stuff, and just go through that guideline, because some student I noticed they are before the student proposal submission, they are communicated well, but they couldn't achieve Google guidelines, because we have to fill these forms. You have to submit this form before the deadline, and there are stuff you have to submit. So these things you have to carefully follow, because they are really important. And also organization guideline. Each organization has several guidelines. They have mentioned what they expect from their students, and what are the things they have to follow in GSoC 12. So these things you need to follow as a student. It's not take much time, but you have to spend with it. So, and the other thing is look for successful project. In a Google portal, you can just search project name or student name, or earlier it was like there are archive lists like 2016, 17. You can go through this list and find a project, or else just Google if you know the project, or else you can search it. Uh, and just try to if you have a chance to look their proposal, check that it's not open, but sometimes there are blogs they have published about explain their proposal. Better to look those stuff before submitting a proposal. And also you could see their PRs, past project PRs, how they work with mentors, how they communicated with community, and how it works. So these things may be important for you to before apply for GSoC preparation. So preparations, and need to keep an eye on the timeline. It's really important, because in end of this January, organization list will be released, and what you can do is before that you can choose, I'm going with this project, I'm going with Joomla, Moodle, or this is project, and you can have a rough idea what I can do. And after organization published, you can directly communicate with this project. But before that, you can also start contributing in the community. You can ask questions. You can ask what are the things, what are the issues they have, because we are real life students who have capability to doing bugs in the project, and who are like to take these, who would like to pick this stuff and sending it beyond. That would be a good plus point for you. So try to these stuff before organization will release. So these are very important. And community bonding in GSoC, mainly you are working with mentors, and each organization there are few more than one organization admins. These are the organization admins are responsible for this organization works, and other students. You should communicate with these three people well with this community bonding period, because after organization release, you could consider it as a community bonding period. You can ask your question and read the documentation well. In the most of the open source organization, there are several documentation and mention their architecture and deployment plans and distributions and all this stuff. You should go through these documentation and get the clear idea of that. and contribution. It's really important, as Devan mentioned, open source contribution is big plus point for you. It's really important for your undergraduate life and your career. It's really great. And communicating with mailing list, it's also a good thing, because you need to send your introduction email to the community, who you are, what your interest, where are you from, those stuff you need to mention. So these are really important. And other thing is, you should brand yourself, because you are it's a global event. You are competing with the other candidates, so you should brand yourself, and you should brand your name. You should give a good impression, and you should be polite, and you should share your idea with other students, mentors, and simply give answers for other questions would be really great. And ask for help, but in the right way. That's important. So communicating with mentors, the it's depend on the organization, but generally most of my organization has a mailing list. You would really like to see a introduction email from students like this. This is one of my students who sent his introduction email back in 2018. Bhutan from Singapore. He just mentioned his name and his university, and his programming language he would like to know. And he just mentioned his working experience with Jenkins, and his my previous experience about RabbitMQ and those messaging stuff. So these are really important, and he just share his profiles, GitHub, those stuff. This is really good introduction email as a student. Those stuff you should do as a student before. You can do this before organization announce. I mean, in this period, you could give your introduction email to the community, or after the organization's release, organization list release, you could also send this. So these are really important. And issue tracker, most of the organization has Jira board or the specific issue trackers. You could simply go these issue trackers and check whether if there is any open issues. And some organization, they have separate tags like GSoC specific issues and beginner friendly issues. You should quickly go through and filter those stuff and try. And you could ask questions from community, what this issue, what they are expecting from this issue, or any other questions. I mean, it depends on the question, it depends on the ticket, and you could discuss this with the community and get the answers, and it's a big plus point for you. And you could write blogs if you found anything interesting, and you could discuss more. So this is a introduced email network ethics. So be helpful and respect to others. That's important, because you are communicating with global community. And be specific and clear. Research, I mean, just Google it before you asking from someone. That's important, because no need to waste others' time. And please don't use caps lock when you're communicating with others. So that's important. And the most important thing is, please don't send personal message to mentors or organization admin, because I know some students directly send us message and asking what should I do and what other stuff going in. These are not good for you, not good for your reputation, because mentors all are really busy with their work and open source stuff and so on. So it would be great if you could ask questions from in mailing list or the chat like Twitter, Slack, or anywhere else, without just send them a personal message. Okay. Next, proper addressing. Hope you guys know this stuff. I just quickly go through. In the open source world, we are not using Sir, Madam, or Mr. Those stuff. Just send their name and mention, not to like hi or something. That's it. So mailing list. Post only the relevant mailings, because some organization like Jenkins, there are relevant mailing lists for each project. Let's say remoting, there are different lists, and those sort of stuff are there. And there are general mailing list, you could ask developer mailing list, you can solve question, architecture mailing list, you can share your design with them, with the community. So better to get a bit research about these things and share and send correct, use correct email channel when you're sending email. That's important. And avoid HTML emails and no cross-posting and hijack threads. So those are things. What's the best way to get accepted as a student? The main thing is your communication with community. It should be often, and it's better to start it early because no need to wait till the last moment. And talk to the community publicly, as I mentioned earlier, and send your proposal draft early. That's important. And you need to involve with community stuff like reporting bugs, fix these bugs, stuff. And don't hesitate to ask questions. There's no any way to clarify your things without asking questions. So ask your mentors, community, and also you could ask from other students in the channel and discuss those stuff. So a great proposal is, as previous speaker mentioned more about this, I just quickly add this. It should be thoughtful and it should well document and easy to do. It should not be long enough because mentors don't have much time to go through all the stuff. Please add what are the things you want to mention, highlight, and add the architecture document and add the proper timeline. What your plan for FOSS in next 12 weeks, and most probably add the any demo versions or any bug fixes you. Those are the plus point for you, and your community interaction. Those things you should have. And life during GSoC. It's more like you are working around 3 months as an open source contributor and so on. So it's really great, and don't limit yourself in your project. You could participate other projects as well. You could ask questions, and you should give your support for other projects as well, and write more code, test, and well documented. That's important thing, and you could share with community your document and all the stuff. Work hard as you can because GSoC is one job that we really pay off. So tips and points I could do is apply early, ready early, and you should communicate early. I think the best day is today, not tomorrow. So it's really important, and don't wait until the last moment because I know there are some students who had send draft proposal for us and review with them, but they couldn't send their final submission PDF to the community. So the final PDF is the last one. Please make sure to submit it before the deadline because there's no any extension. They might not give you no deadline extension for you. So you should submit the correct time and date, and the deadline is they are stick with the deadline. So it's better to submit your final PDF before the deadline, and keep editing your draft proposal with your mentor, and you could review from them, and you could update this draft proposal version as well and submit it. Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid not to try. That's my advice to give you guys. It's really important. And my open source experience, I just quickly go through. I worked with Moodle, Joomla as a student, and Jenkins as a mentor, and mentoring Google coding projects. So these are my Moodle projects. Is Moodle Mobile Lab and Joomla. I worked with Joomla 4 upgrade in jQuery, and these are some projects I'm mentoring in most of remote team projects and code coverage here. In the life after GSoC, this is important. Main thing is you could it's good recommendation, and it's online presence in the GitHub, LinkedIn also, and the experience is really important for you as a student, and after that in the career is big plus point for you. And there are some opportunity like you could participate as a you could present your project to the community. That's really important. I also had the chance to present my Moodle project to Moodle World. There is conference in back in 2019. I had a chance to meet the Moodle CEO during that time and present my project to him. So that's really important for you as a student. So this stuff it's really great for your career and life. So that's it from me. Any questions? And over to you, Hiruni. Over to you.
Yes, thank you for your words of wisdom, Supun. And once again, a big thank you to all our speakers for taking time off their very busy schedules and to come and speak to our audience here today. And a small notice to all the attendees, there will be a feedback form in the chat, and we'd be grateful if you could take 2 minutes to fill it out. To conclude the evening's proceedings, I invite the Secretary of the Mozilla Club, Isuri Anuradha, to give a word of thanks. Over to you, Isuri.
Thank you, Hirni. You can hear me, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thanks. Good evening, everyone. You might think organizing a virtual event is much easier than a physical one, but as it is, virtual events present us with a different type of challenge. So before we conclude today's session, let me take a minute to thank all the individuals without whom this open brackets event would not have been made possible. First and foremost, on behalf of the Executive Committee of the Mozilla Campus Club and FOSS IIT, I would like to extend my gratitude to our wonderful speakers today. Mr. Thiloshon, Ms. Isuri, Mr. Devon, and Mr. Supun, thank you so much for taking the time of your busy schedules to share your valuable knowledge and experience of GSoC with us today. Next, I would like to thank the master in charge of our club, Mr. Nishant Salia. Thank you, sir, for your constant support and advice in all our club proceedings. Next, a huge thank you goes out to the Executive Committee of the Mozilla Club 2019 to 20, who are always there to help us and guide us in the right direction. I would also like to take this opportunity to appreciate and acknowledge our club volunteers. From designing posters and handling our social media and a lot more, thank you guys for dedicating your time and effort in helping us making this event a success. To all the people working behind the scenes, the present Executive Committee of the Mozilla Club and FOSS, thank you guys for your hard work, and here's to the many more events to come. Last but not least, I would like to extend my gratitude to our audience today, fellow IITians as well as the students from universities from all around the island. Thank you for joining us and making this event a huge success. We appreciate your enthusiasm and hope to see you again at our future events. That's all from me. Thank you all once again and have a pleasant evening. Back to you, Hirdi.
Thank you, Isuri. And with that, we'll be concluding the evening's proceedings. Thank you again to all our participants and our speakers, and we'll be signing off.